Hi all, Bones here from Oz BSA Bantams. Now, in this video, I'm going to show you the process that I go through to rebuild an engine. This isn't a tutorial, this is just how I go about it and why I go about it the way I do. My background is, I started life as a fitter and machinist, finished my apprenticeship, went off, joined the military. I cross-trained as an aircraft engineer and an armourer. So that aviation exposure, I worked an awful lot with procedures and procedural type stuff. So in order to do an engine rebuild, I actually have my own procedure. And there's a few reasons for that. One is so I don't miss anything. The next thing is it allows me to be able to walk away from the job and pick it up the next day and know exactly where I was the previous day and what's actually been done, so nothing gets missed. I have a document that I get customers to sign and they will detail what they actually want done. Things like vapor blasting, polishing, any modification work and those sort of things. So they actually have to sign and agree to that before I'll do it. This is also my checklist. So I'll actually go through and I'll show you some of the inspection criteria and techniques that I actually use and what I'm actually looking for in some of the components. I also have this over here, which is more of a document that's got the service sheet information condensed into it, things like measurements and distances and all that sort of stuff. So that way I don't have to keep flicking through the service sheet. It goes with the same flow process as what the inspection criteria is. So this is for dismantling and inspection. This is more for reassembly. So no, I won't go and copy it and send it out and everything like that. The service sheets are out there and you can do that yourself. This is just basically, as I said, a video of just how I go about doing an engine rebuild for a customer. So the engine that we've got in, we'll go and have a look at it because I'll just quickly run through what I'm looking for when I have a look at my gearbox. I'm looking for obviously chipped and broken teeth, and I'm looking at my gear surfaces to make sure they're not too pitted or too much damage that's lost the hard facing on the gears. Expect somewhere on it, and I mean you've got to be a little bit realistic. I mean the things are 70 years old, so you're not going to get a perfect gear tooth and everything like that. On this gear, to check on your main shaft and see if there's any, see all the rock in that? That's got a massive amount. So that shouldn't have any. Oh golly, and that's the reason why this is horrendous. See the lip there? That's how badly worn this is. So golly, I'm going to scrap that. To get that to work again, you'd have to set it up in a cylindrical grinder and grind this surface down so it's parallel again, make bushes up to suit that, but I'm not going to bother. I've got other main shafts I can use, so we'll be doing that. So obviously another gear, check your dogs, make sure there's no chips or anything out of that. These actually look pretty good. Same deal, checking gear faces and the like, checking the security of your gear onto your lay shaft, dogs again. You're checking surface of your dogs here, and they actually look really good. Actually, this gear cluster's pretty good. I've seen a lot worse. So yeah, so it'll be a bearing bushes change on this one over here, but we'll do that later. I'll show you how to go about that later. I'll show you how I go about it. All right, gear selector shaft. A few things to check on this are this, bingo. So someone's, looks like araldite or so, that's might be loose. So with the spring on it at the moment, it might be holding it, but someone's welded that and the weld's cracked. So this will be scrap as well. And someone's, I mean this is right royally stuffed. So obviously I'll be replacing that, and if you're doing an engine rebuild, replace this spring whatever you do. You know, if you don't know how long it's been in, these things have a tendency to snap. Plus you've got to split the engine to replace it. So why not spend the, I don't know what they are, $15 or something like that, and replace it when you can. So I don't know if you can pick that up, but you'll just see a line going all the way around there where this is being welded and the weld's broken. So this won't be going back in the engine. This is your distance sleeve for your sprocket on your output. So I usually find, actually this one's really good, believe it or not. I just give these a polish, and there's usually, this runs up against the face of your sprocket, so just remove the burr off that as well. So more stuff to fix. All right, I know we've got nice shiny cases over there, but we're looking at the clutch basket. So what we're looking at is this surface right along here. And that generally you can get really bad scallops in that from your clutch plates hitting it. So this one, you can just make out the burr across there. So on this clutch basket, I'll dress that off with a file, dress the burrs off both sides with a file. They actually look pretty good. You're checking for security of your rivets and make sure they're all tight. This has got a bit of rust on it, so I'll put it in a rust blaster before I reassemble. And you're looking at these wear surfaces in here. If they got really badly grooved or anything like that, I'll just take a tiny skim with a lathe to fix up the surface. So yeah, on this one, the big one is those scallops in there. You really want to file them out because it affects the operation of your clutch. Also on your clutch, your outside clutch plate, this is where the little clutch mushroom bears against to open up your clutch pack, presses against it to open it up. What you might find, and always check, is a dimple, a really deep dimple in here, because people put three-legged pullers on the clutch and start screwing it down onto this to compress the clutch, and that does not work. So I've had a couple where, see these 4 spot welds here, they retain this plate here. I've had them where they've broken that spot weld, and you can't see it because it hasn't broken around there. It's broken between this plate and that plate. And this plate's not sitting square, it's sitting off at an angle. So you can't, it's doing that when you pull the clutch on. So it's oscillating. So you can't get your clutch adjusted up properly. So that's just one to check to make sure there's no real gouge marks or dimples in here where someone hasn't used the proper clutch compressor. Over the back there, we've got engine cases that have just come back from the vapor blasters. So the big one is this hole here. Being a later model engine, what you'll usually find is that someone's had a red hot crack with a screwdriver through some of these surfaces here. So have a really, really good look. I've had to fix up so many. Not so much the YD engines because they've only got the 12 screws from the left hand side, but as soon as they put that 13th screw in and it's behind the clutch basket, everyone forgets about it. And even this one's got a little bit of a mark there. I reckon someone's jammed a screwdriver in to get it open. If you do have damage, I use Alu-Tights and aluminium solder. Fill up the gouge mark, draw file it back with a single cut file, and it usually works pretty good. But yeah, usual thing, just check for all your threads are all right. Make sure that is cleaned out, and I'll put a cotton bud in there and I'll go in with a pressure pack can of degreaser and make sure that's all cleaned out before I reassemble. But everything else looks all right. The only thing is on this one you can see those center punch marks where someone staked the old seal in, which I don't know why they did that because the seal surface looks really good. So yeah, that's the engine cases and what I look for. Okay, with your clutch cover, I actually press out the scroll mechanism because obviously this one's been vapor blasted. But what you'll find here, and you can see some gouge marks there, a lot of these are broken out through here, and a lot of them actually have those tabs broken. I have done repairs, but this engine case, I mean, it's got the tiniest little nick out of it there, and that's that small. I'll just put some silicone. Once this marries up, I'll just put a little bead of silicone to keep the water and the oil and crap slinging through onto but I've seen like some of them are really badly broken out where I'll actually build this whole lot up with a weld and then machine it back. You can see it's just got the tiny little bit of a ding in it, but that's actually pretty good. So same deal on this one as your clutch covers. Sorry, as your engine cases. You know, check your threads. I mean, this one's broken, but there's well and truly enough thread down in there for the screw to go in. Yeah, no, that's pretty good. Same deal. Checking for cracks and all that. That's basically all the rest of the stuff, which I'll go through and I'll give a good clean and I'm just looking over it. You'll be able to see damaged things, bent, broken. You know, for instance, I mean, look at that's your spring. Oh no, it's a circle. I thought it was a spring retainer. Just go through and check it and check all the plates. Alright, so basically that's the way I do an inspection. I'm doing a visual inspection of very noticeable damage. I'm looking for certain things as per your service sheets and things like that, and how I'm going to repair that damage. I note it down on my list here, what's actually damaged or whether I'm going to replace it, weld, polish, retap, helicoil or whatever. I note all that down. So I do the whole inspection and what repairs I'm going to effect all in one hit. I don't go and look at one bit, take it away, go and fix it, come back, do all that sort of stuff. I don't do it. So I've gone through and I've done all the inspection now and I've identified what parts I need. There's a couple of bits that are missing here, but I've got to go and get them. So basically, I'm missing gasket set, barrel studs, and I can't remember something else. But anyway, there's some things that you should change without any exception when you do an engine rebuild, and they are things like lock tab washers. You should be changing out. Clutch springs. I've never seen an engine where I pulled it apart and the clutch springs are within tolerance of what they say in the service sheet. So, and they're not very expensive. I usually change out the clutch plates. Something that's not here as well is the gear change selector spring. Definitely change it out, because if you don't know the provenance of it, they snap, and then if they do, you've got an engine split to repair it, or then you've got to go and buy another gasket set and things like that. If you don't know the provenance of the engine, now when I'm saying what your provenance is, it's not what the guy said to you when he sold it to you or whatever. If you don't know, if someone's been inside who knows what they're doing, I would definitely pull an engine apart. I cannot tell you how many times I've pulled engines apart that have been rebuilt and they are a pile of crap. In fact, one customer, I think you should have gone back and given the bloke a bit of a bop on the nose, because it was an absolute shocker to the point where it was dangerous. The stuff he did was just incredible, and it was supposed to be a rebuilt engine. If you do not know the provenance of your engine, pull it down, have a look, check everything over. I do it with like all bikes that I'm restoring, and like I'll pull the engine down unless I absolutely know the history of it. And it's don't go doing a partial rebuild. Like, you either do the whole lot or nothing. Seriously. So there's no point doing a top end rebuild if your bottom end's flogged out, because all you've got to do is waste money on gaskets and a piston. Seriously. So it's a case of all or nothing. Do it properly or don't do it at all. These poor little engines, they need to be in tip-top order to get any horsepower out of them, and they don't start off with much horsepower in the first place. So really, really consider it. I mean, I understand that people are constrained financially, but you don't have to buy everything in one hit. You can buy a little bit as you're going along until you've got all your bits there that you reckon you need. then go and do your rebuild. So yeah, that's some of the stuff that we're going to be using on this engine. So now it's time to go off and start fixing some stuff, starting with the crank. Rightio, so I have pressed this crank apart, and we'll try and get in there, see if you can see in there the damage and Brunelling in that conrod. Now on a Bantam, if you pick up and you can get any vertical movement whatsoever, don't worry about the rock, any vertical movement whatsoever, that's it, it's US, unserviceable. So sometimes you can put new rollers in if these wear surfaces are alright, but this one isn't alright. Now the other thing with this crankshaft that was came with this engine, someone has put these rather thick stuffer plates, so crankcase stuffing to up your primary compression. But the problem is with this one, whoever did it, they put it a bit thick, because those grooves there are a telltale sign that this flywheel is actually rubbing against the seal. So you don't want that. So these were countersunk screws that were put in. I couldn't get them out, so I've had to drill them out. So I'll get them out. I'll put standard stuffer plates back on and paint them in, and I've got another conrod kit that I'll press into this, and we'll get that all trued up. So I better get in. Shit, there's not much there to grab hold of, is there? And the other interesting thing is they have machined this thinner, this flywheel. Rightio. It's time to have a chat to the customer and see what they actually want to do, because it might need the flywheel replacing. I might be able to put that back in and just reduce a bit of the thickness out of that, which is fairly thick. Alright, we got our screws out, a little bit of a challenge, but not too bad. What I'm going to do now is start polishing up these bearing and, more importantly, the seal surface just here. We'll just set that up in the lathe and give that a bit of a polish up. While I'm on the lathe, I will take a cut off here. You can feel the burr in there now. I'll just reduce the thickness of this back to about here, so it definitely clears the seal, and then I can compensate for that when I shim it. This has got to go in and get this seal surface polished up around here too. It's had a bit of a going over, and someone's had a go at this with a file all around there, so we'll give that a polish up. Thread looks all right though, so it should come up okay. Right, I apologise if it's not perfectly in focus, but what I want to bring to your attention is this damage on this seal surface here. Right, that's actually pretty deep. There's a bit more around here. There's a big pit there, and all that there. It's not the sort of thing you can just polish out. So what I intend to do is actually set it up in the 4-jaw chuck. It's in a 3-jaw chuck now, so I can get it absolutely perfect. And I am actually going to take a skim off that seal surface. And when I go to put the seal in, I'm actually going to tighten the seal up. I'm going to cut a little bit off the spring off the back of the seal and tighten it in so the seal pulls in a bit tighter. I've done it plenty of times before. It's just that if you run a seal over that surface there, it'll chew out in no time. And of course, as soon as that happens, you lose crankcase compression. You'll never get this engine to run. All right, early decision's been made that I'm not going to bother with these flywheels. I'm just going to replace them. Too much damage on them, too much mucking around trying to get those stuffer plates back on, and you know, customers paying me an hourly rate. So by the time I get that all salvage that, it's way easier just to put a new set of flywheels on. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Alright, new bushes pressed in. We're just drilling the oil gallery hole through the bush. Right, we're just about to start polishing up the newer main shaft that I've got, and there's about 3 thou to come off it. Alright, we've done the ramming, but there is just a I should be able to just, well, now I can spin it. It should just spin freely. There's a tiny little bit of a tight spot there. If I roll my hand, pull it back off, you might be able to see it on the shaft, and it's just there. I don't think you can pick it up on the camera. So I'll give that a tiny, tiny polish. And this will all be good. That's how you do it.